Hey, what's up guys? My name is Edward Ornelas, and in today's video, we're going to be discussing some technical analysis regarding Bitcoin and why I'm personally bearish once again. All right, let's talk about it right here, right now. All right, so if you guys remember in my last live stream, I was talking about how Bitcoin was going to retrace and see some nice push up towards that 8,000, or at least close to that 8,000 range, right? This was when Bitcoin was down here at 6,000 or so, and I was talking about how Bitcoin was eventually going to see a huge retrace towards close to around $8,000. Well, of course, a few weeks ago now, we did finally end up touching towards that general vicinity, right? Towards that resistance area. We didn't quite get up towards 8,000, but we did get close to around $7,800, which was, pretty good, more or less, the general vicinity of what I was looking for. Again, that was a few weeks ago. I've been gone for quite some time because of the holidays with Thanksgiving, family, and also I've just been actively trading. So I've been on, behind the scenes. Recently though, I did get a comment regarding where I've been. So that means that I know a lot of you guys are starting to miss my technical analysis, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, so right now, as we come to a conclusion here, I'm starting to become a little bit more bearish now. Okay. We've already retested this trend line right here. You can see this is a perfect trend line, guys. I mean, I literally connect this thing like connect the dots. Okay. And so as you guys can see right here, we've already had one rejection here. We've had a huge rejection wick right here. And just now within this hour, okay, within the last 40 minutes, we just had a strong rejection again, once again off that trend line. So that lets me know that with 3 consecutive rejections off this general vicinity, that lets me know that right now there's just not a lot of buyers for us to continue to break towards the upside, okay? So that is not going to happen. In my opinion, I think we're very likely now to see another leg towards the downside. Now, when I say another leg towards the downside, what do I refer to? Am I saying lower lows? Well, that's to be determined, all right? Here's a few scenarios that we could possibly end up playing out within the next couple of days, all right? I do believe that since the wedge is getting so tight, right? We're literally at the apex of it, that we're likely going to break down very soon. So the first possible scenario that we could see is that Bitcoin could end up actually just breaking down towards this, more or less 6,900 range, right? For possibly a double bottom retest. And then, before we end up pushing upwards, that is a possibility. Although I'm not necessarily leaning towards that. For me, what I'm leaning towards is a little bit different, right? So let me delete that really quickly. Let me redraw our trend line here, right? So assuming we end up breaking down, what I'm actually going to be looking for is actually a lower low, right? Towards maybe perhaps 6,000 range or so. Again, it's more of a total guess at this point. That's not to say that we will or won't do that, just depending on how it turns out. What you want to look out for is to see if we start to pivot, right? So if we start to form like these little pivots right here, like the way we did in the past, right, where we start to form something like this, then it's very possible that we could end up seeing some lower lows. And then at that point, once we hit that lower leg towards that downside, I think that's when we will get a nice strong bullish reaction. Okay, so that's why ideally I would like to see another leg towards the downside that's a little bit lower than I expect, because that would give us a nice huge push towards the upside, which would be very ideal. Is that to say that's the bottom? I don't know. That could very well be the bottom. But what you guys have to remember, and something I always talk about, is looking at this bear trend overall, right? So this right here right now is still playing huge influence. And so ideally what I would like to see is, of course, a breakdown, possibly either a lower leg towards the downside, and then eventually a retest up towards this bear trend. And that could honestly lead us back to either $7,400 or $7,500. Again, assuming that we do touch down towards these lows, which would give us a nice 30% push, which would be really nice. But again, like I also mentioned, we could end up actually just double bottoming right here. before we're getting a push. The thing is with that scenario is that it's very unlikely. You know, in the past, we've never really double bottomed with Bitcoin. Any single time we've attempted to double bottom here, we do end up getting a small push, but then we end up making a lower low. So for me, a possibility of a lower low would be more likely, just because we've seen that in the past far more often, right? A good example of this was back when Bitcoin was dropping down from 6,000 to 3,000 range. You can see that we end up pivoting right here, right? So we end up consolidating, and then we end up making a lower low towards the downside before we end up pushing up, right? So that's why I'm assuming that we would probably end up making some lower lows before we end up getting a push towards the upside. So yeah, just to clarify, you know, if you are still standing by that predicament that we're going to hit 8,000, that's not going to happen, guys. All right, we already did hit that general vicinity. We hit $7,800. So don't say, hey, Edward, you told me we're going to hit $8,000. You know, that's not the case now. All right, things did change since then. And so right now we already at some strong resistance. So we're likely to make some lower lows towards the downside. And that's what I would be watching out for. For any of you that have been wondering where I've been, well, I've been actively trading some altcoins, guys, as always. One of them being Algo. Algo has been doing phenomenal. It's up over 20% since my entry. At its highs, it was around 30%, guys. So this is why I would say, guys, just focus on trading altcoins, because regardless of what Bitcoin does, you're always going to find better opportunities within altcoins. Another one was, of course, Fetch AI. Fetch did end up breaking above its bear trend, more or less. And since then, you know, from its, I guess you could say its trend, it's up over at its peak, it was around over 70%. Currently still standing at around 60%, guys. So let's just do the math, right? If we compare that to Bitcoin, if Bitcoin were to perform 60%, all right, relatively speaking, from here, let's say, for example, it just out of nowhere ends up exploding and it does over 60%, that would put it at over $12,000. All right, so that's the equivalent of buying Bitcoin here at 7,000 and selling it at around $12,000. So that's why I would say, guys, focus on trading alts, because at the end of the day, alts will, in the long run, especially in the long run, and from proven history, they will forever surpass and dominate really the markets, especially in a bull run. All right, so practice trading altcoins now, because they will benefit you in the long run. Right now, sure, they aren't doing as great as they have in the past, but I mean, just look at that, guys. Just look at that in previous history, right? You can see how much clearly they've always outperformed Bitcoin. And if you actually look at its comparative, they are still a lot higher from its lows. You know, they're up over 100,000%. So that's what I've been doing, guys. I've just been actively trading altcoins, and I think you guys should definitely take a look into altcoins if you haven't already. And I will be posting some altcoin trades that I've been performing for the past couple of days, just to show you guys my thought process behind that. So if you guys are interested in that, so be sure to like the video, subscribe, and yeah, stay tuned for those upcoming videos and tutorials. All right. So let me know what you guys think. Do you guys agree with my overall predicament with Bitcoin, or do you guys think that we're going to end up breaking through? I mean, just like the way I said before, guys, we've already seen 3 consecutive rejections, and so typically that's not a good sign. The only other way that we could end up actually breaking towards the upside is that out of nowhere, we do end up breaking above this general resistance right here, which is a strong resistance. If we can get above $7,800, then yes, at that point, I'd change my perspective and I'd say I'm bullish. But for now, I do think that we will make some lower lows towards the downside. So, all right, that's where I'll end it here, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.